The UC Board of Regents meet tomorrow to decide what they will do about UCLA moving to the Big Ten. Kupp goes on injured reserve, and USC lands the #1 recruit in basketball. For men and women, by the way. What? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm flabbergasted. This is James, and this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelino's Morning Report. I have got way too much to spit out here for you guys, so let's get cracking. It is November 16th, 2022. If you like the content that we put out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. There is just way too much to get to today. It is a crazy morning. So before we go through the news and notes from around LA, we'll take a quick look at the scoreboard. Last night, Paul George dropped 23 points, but the Clippers were playing the second of back-to-back nights on the road, and that is a real problem in the NBA. So Dallas pulls out a 103-101 victory. Meanwhile, over at Galen Center, USC basketball barely edges Vermont, 59-57. But just this morning, the #1 recruit in the country, Isaiah Collier of Wheeler High School in Atlanta, has committed to play for the Trojans as a class of 2023. He picked the Trojans over Michigan. He picked the Trojans over Cincinnati. He picked the Trojans over UCLA. And now USC goes from the 33 ranked class all the way up to 10th. The Trojans have the #1 player in the land. We will get more to that, or rather more about USC basketball in just a moment. Meanwhile, today, the Kings are going to play at Edmonton at 7 o'clock. As you might recall, the Oilers, they were the team that eliminated the Kings in the playoffs last year. The UC Board of Regents' upcoming meeting is tomorrow to talk about what they think about UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten Conference and leaving the Pac-12. Now, to be clear, to rehash, they don't have any say over USC. UCLA, obviously, being a public school. UCLA Chancellor Jean Block and Athletic Director Martin Germond are expected to attend. We don't really have any idea if the Regents are going to do anything. Maybe they'll just chit-chat, kick the can down the road. This is a political system, obviously. But I will say this, you're going to read a lot in the LA Times, other media outlets about what is in the best interest of the students. That's all the Regents care about. That's all, that's all the Pac-12 cares about. That's crap. Recognize this, from stem to stern, from the schools, from the players, from the Board of Regents, to everybody involved in this, it's all about the money. The Board of Regents, in my opinion, wants their cut. And they're going to try to figure out how to do that. That is what, in my opinion, this is all about. Now, having said that, just to rehash, there are options that the Board of Regents may consider, some sort of half-baked options to try to, because I don't think that they can stop UCLA from leaving. I don't think they can. Nothing I've read says they can. They might try to twist UCLA's arm into trying to bring Cal Berkeley into the Big Ten as well. They may try to say UCLA should cut a check to Cal Berkeley. There are all kinds of options on the board here for the Board of Regents to try to force something out of UCLA's hand. But again, UCLA entered the fiscal year about $103 million in debt due to the financial mismanagement of the Pac-12 conference. This move was inevitable in order for UCLA to stay financially solvent and not kill out sports, particularly women's sports, Title IX enthusiasts. So it's a pickle. But at the end of the day, it's a political pickle. That's what you should keep in mind, in my arrogant little opinion. In brighter news, the Bruins have announced a sellout for the upcoming USC game, which is cool, but in my arrogant little opinion, and boy, do I have many arrogant little opinions, they have 8 tarps left at the Rose Bowl. I would just be selling tickets and removing tarps until you have none of them left. Bill Plaschke of the LA Times predicts, by the way, that the Bruins will beat USC this Saturday. Why? I don't know. I didn't read it. I mean, seriously, when I think of Bill Plaschke, I think of sports writer Sylvia Plath. I don't want to go emo when I'm reading my sports news, right? I don't know. Bill Plaschke is too emotional for me to read. I'm good. I'd actually rather listen to somebody who follows college football for a living. Oh, by the way, side note about UCLA's potential move to the Big Ten. There is a survey. It was written about in the LA Times. I don't know who conducted the survey. 93% of Bruins athletes surveyed said it is important for UCLA to stay in the same conference as USC. That's how much the rivalry means. So this idea about what's best for the students, you could argue UCLA's athletes have made up their mind. They want to have that rivalry. Only 24% said it was important to keep the rivalry between UCLA and Cal together. Cooper Kupp of the Rams has gone on IR. And rest just isn't going to cut it because he has to have surgery. Cutting it is the only thing that's going to cut it. Rest won't. It's his second serious injury. He had an ACL tear back in 2018. The Rams offense wasn't the same without him then. And now I think we can honestly say the Rams offense at this juncture, it's going to be the same whether or not he's there. PU. I saw that live on Sunday. Holy crap. By the way, Matthew Stafford, he's still in the concussion protocol. And if you're wondering, as the Rams continue to falter, keep in mind that the Rams sent Detroit their first-round pick last year to land Matthew Stafford. Tyler Anderson, who was last seen scratching his head over Dave Roberts pulling him out of a decisive playoff game, has decided to leave the Dodgers and sign with the Angels. Now, the Dodgers, they sent him a qualifying offer for 1 year, but the Angels offered 3. Less money per year, longer commitment. He was an all-star for the first time last year. I would say had Anderson stayed with the Dodgers, he probably would have been their 5th starter. Considering what the Angels have, you just slide him right behind Ohtani and get him at number 2. That's a big difference right there. Also talking qualifying offers, Trey Turner has rejected the one from the Dodgers. Dave Roberts, for his role in everything, he finished 2nd in the NL Manager of the Year voting. Can you tell, by the way, I don't have a lot of time to breathe. The college football playoff rankings came out yesterday. The Trojans have moved up to 7th. Now, reaching the playoffs when you're 7th this late in the year does seem like a tall order, but in theory, USC, they have a gauntlet to run through. Beating UCLA potentially, beating Notre Dame potentially, and by the way, if they beat UCLA, they go to the Pac-12 title game. That would potentially be 3 ranked opponents in a row, which would significantly increase their stock for a potential college football playoff berth. I acknowledge that, by the way, a sweep is a hell of an ask of this team. I recognize that, absolutely. We mentioned yesterday about contract options that were extended with the LA Galaxy. For LAFC, they have extended options on midfielders Kellen Acosta and Latif Blessing, goaltender Maxime Crépeau and his crutches, and defenseman Mamadou Fall. The latter, by the way, Fall is currently playing overseas. LAFC just still own the man's rights. They have 22 players that are currently under contract. The surprises, there are free agents that are LAFC did not extend contracts to. Christian Tello, Ryan Hollingshead, and Eddie Segura. Now, to be clear, the Black and Gold are negotiating with these players. They don't just want to have them for just 1 year. So don't necessarily assume that all 3 of them are gonzo. It's not true. They might land all 3, but they're trying to land them for a longer term than just 1 year. Also, there's an MLS columnist that suggests that LAFC will be active in the trade market. The reason being that in order to keep those key players, or any of their key players, they're going to have to clear cap space. And as I've said multiple times, I cannot explain MLS's salary cap structure. Whatever LAFC is going to do it, trade market seems like a way out to try to free up some space. We mentioned USC's male basketball team getting the #1 recruit in the land. The Trojans women's team also landed the #1 recruit in the land. Juju Watkins of Sierra Canyon High School has signed a national letter of intent to play with the Trojans. And I like this. Not just simply as being a USC fan, but back when I was a kid, back when I had a future, back when my life was in front of me, the Trojans were synonymous with women's basketball. But they hadn't won a national title since 1984. And if you think about it, this is the school of Cheryl Miller. This is the school of Lisa Leslie, of Tina Thompson. The Trojans have not been relevant on the national stage for quite a while. And so landing Juju Watkins, that is quite a catch. I just have one request. Don't let her set foot in Moscow. Can we swing that, people? Can we swing it? Right? The culture in Southern California, when it comes to weed, way different than the land of Putin. The LA Times has released a list of the top 75 Lakers of all time. And a list like that, there's bound to be snubs. Wouldn't you say? Feelings hurt? Feelings hurt. Nick Young is pissed. Nick Young. Because that 1 assist per game had to mean something, right? How could you not be top 75 of Lakers players when you have 0 playoff appearances, right? You should still be somewhere, right, Nikki? I understand. How about your resume as a Laker, including being a guiding light of professionalism to D'Angelo Russell? Nick Young is literally pissed that he is not in the top 75 of Lakers players. Larry Drew is telling you to sit down and shut the F up. Rodi Turioff has a better resume in terms of Laker lore than Nick Young. Who are we talking about here? Nick Young is pissed. Sasha Vujacic is still practicing free throws somewhere in the Ukraine or God knows where. And he's looking over his shoulder as the bombs are raining down on him, telling Nick Young to shut the hell up. Nick Young thinks he's one of the top 75 Lakers of all time. Side note, the Daily Mail is reporting a survey ranking U.S. teams by popularity, and the #1 team in the United States in terms of popularity is your Los Angeles Lakers. The Dodgers, by the way, ranked #4. An oddity, though, the Daily Mail is a foreign news site. They did not include the NHL as one of the quote-unquote top 4 leagues in the country. Instead, they had MLS. And by the way, the most popular MLS team in the land? Your Los Angeles Galaxy. Thank you very little. The process of adding bodies to the Chargers defensive line begins. The Bolts have signed Tyler Davison from Cleveland's practice squad. Also, Joe Graziano has been promoted from LA's practice squad. Now, by my count, considering injuries and considering they cut Jerry Tillery last week, LA needs 2 more defensive linemen. Literally, I don't know. Literally, I look at the additions that they've made. These are the equivalent of, holy crap, it's 1:30, I'm single at the bar, I'm desperate to get laid, and there's nobody here. That's what these signings mean to me here. We've all been there, right? Finally, a Browns player is suing the Chargers and the Rams and the NFL and ESPN and SoFi Stadium and my mom for his knee injury at SoFi Stadium earlier this year. Now look, actually, I don't mean to kid around too much. The poor man, he blew out his knee. SoFi Stadium's turf is getting a reputation as something that can be leading to injuries, and I don't want to be too mean to the guy. Who am I to say he's wrong? Maybe this is something that actually improves safety in the NFL. Just a thought. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Everything was blowing up today for LA sports. I would love to hear your opinion. Leave it in the comments thread. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We do talk LA sports. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.